Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 1st, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have signed a Kazakh Wonderkid. I'm going to tell you who it is because it is an exciting signing, or at least that's what media outlets are saying. Also, reports today from Ketty Juga stating that Barcelona have missed the chance to sign Marcus Rashford. And finally, Joao Cancelo hinting at a possible return to his boyhood club, Benfica. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boom. Welcome to the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments and reacting to them live. So start filling out the chat section with your comments, your questions, anything that's on your mind. Keeping it, of course, PG-13. Nah, we could go for R-rated. We'll make it. I'm always cursing. Might as well. Anyways, for those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. And of course, having said all this, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All this helps the channel continue to grow, especially the like button. The more people hit the like button, the more the YouTube algorithm recommends this video to people who've never seen the channel. Why? Because the YouTube algorithm is like, oh, wow, all these people are liking this video. This video must be great. Let me recommend it to people who've never seen it. So hit the like button. It's probably the best that you could do to help this channel grow. Also, if you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys, merchandise, kits, hats, cool hats like this, make sure to Goal Kids Kit Bag or Fanatics. If you're looking to place any sports bets, not just on Barcelona matches, but on any sporting event around the world, make sure you hit bet us. All links are down below in the description. And click on them and get access to some pretty cool deals and offers that otherwise you would not get access to if you went directly to the site. All right, having said all of that, let's dive right into the news. But of course, a quick reminder first that the two videos of my visits to the Estadio Johan Cruyff to watch the Barca Femini and to the Spotify Camp Nou to watch the Barcelona versus Rayo Vallecano, plus to see the update of the Camp Nou. Both videos are up on the channel. Make sure to check them out. I think I was able to capture the experience. I don't know. You guys let me know. Watch the videos and let me know. All right, now back to the news after that quick announcement, quick detour, because there are several things we got to talk about during this first segment, as always. Starting with that, there will be some changes to Joan Laporta's board of directors, something that people have been asking me about, right? As we know, Joan Laporta overwhelmingly won re-election on March 15th. He will become the Barcelona president on July 1st, because in case you missed those videos, Joan Laporta, per the bylaws of the club, will not become president again until July 1st. So right now, the president is Rafa Yuste, right? Because when that was Laporta's vice president, when Laporta stepped down to run for re-election, Rafa Yuste became the president, and Rafa Yuste will remain the president until June 30th, because on July 1st, almost sneeze. Because on July 1st, Joan Laporta will once again become Barcelona's president, and there will be changes to his board of directors. His board of directors will include new members. At the moment of Joan Laporta stepping down to run for re-election, there were 17 members of his board of directors. Now there will be 22 members, so there's going to be 5 people joining his board of directors. And also there will be some changes. For example, Ferran Olivier, who is the treasurer of Barcelona, will officially become the VP of Finance. So definitely there's going to be more and more changes, of course. As Joan Laporta announces them, I will be here to cover those changes because there will be, the new people who will lead the club for the next 5 years until 2031. Now, let's move on to the next bit of news because Lamine Yamal issued a statement yesterday after Spain played a friendly match against Egypt at Espanyol's Stadium. And of course, there was some chants that Lamine Yamal did not like, and this is what the Barcelona starlet had to say. I am a Muslim, alhamdulillah, which means praise be to God. Yesterday at the stadium, the chant, whoever doesn't jump is a Muslim, was heard. No, it was aimed at the opposing team and wasn't something personal against me. But as a Muslim, it is nonetheless disrespectful and intolerable. I realize that not all fans are like that, but to those who chant these things, using religion as a joke on the pitch makes you look like ignorant, racist people. Football is meant to be enjoyed and cheered on, not to disrespect people for who they are or what they believe in. Having said that, thank you to the people who came to support us. See you at the World Cup. So, just a quick background of what happened. Again, Spain played against Egypt in a friendly match at Espanyol Stadium, and during the match, there were some chants of people singing, "Whoever doesn't jump is a Muslim." Now, this is a chant that's usually used against other clubs. For example, Barcelona sing "Boti, boti, boti, madridista qui no boti," which in Catalan means jump, jump, jump. That who doesn't jump is a Madridista, right? And the whole stadium starts to jump, kind of like, hey, we're not Madridistas, right? And it's a pretty common chant in the football world. A lot of clubs sing it, and they usually say jump. Whoever doesn't jump is from the other team, from the opposing team. But in this match, they were chanting, "Whoever doesn't jump is a Muslim," right? And of course, this was not aimed obviously at Lamine. This was aimed at Egypt, the Egyptian national team. But of course, Lamine Yamal is a Muslim himself, so he did not like that, and this is why he issued this statement. Now, there's some people who have tried to kind of like downplay this, saying like, "Oh, well, they're just saying if you don't jump, you're not a Muslim. That's you're a Muslim. That's not a bad thing. It's just a fact. If you're a Muslim, then you shouldn't jump. There's nothing bad with that." Let's not play stupid. I mean, it's clearly they're saying that if you don't jump, you're a Muslim because they're trying to insinuate that being a Muslim is a bad thing, and therefore you should jump because if you don't, you're a Muslim and you're a bad thing, right? That's what they're trying to imply. So obviously, Lamine Yamal did not like that and issued this statement. And here's what I'll say. And I'm not here to justify what these people are saying because, people are stupid, but you cannot cure stupid. But what I would say to Lamine, I think a better way to address this, I know this by upset him, and actually he seemed pretty upset during the match. He actually didn't even participate in any post-match interviews because he seemed upset. He went directly to the locker room. I think the best way to combat this, in my opinion, is honestly to just ignore it. Don't give it media coverage. Don't give it any light. Ignore it. And I think that's the best way to fight it rather than, issuing these statements. Because when people do these things, when people go to the stadium, say racist things, say xenophobic things, what they're trying to do is get a reaction out of you, right? They're saying these insults because they want you to get mad. They want you to feel bad. They want you to feel insulted. And I think the best way to combat this is to just ignore it and let them know that, hey, doesn't matter what you say to me. I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And well, if you don't like it, you can go F yourself, right? So, I mean, I think this is a dignified statement. I don't see anything wrong with it. But I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, a better way to combat this is to just ignore it, not give it any attention, because you're only giving it power when you give it attention, right? Remember that very famous scene where fans threw a banana at Dani Alves, they're trying to call him a monkey. And what did he do? He didn't get mad. He didn't issue statements. He picked up the banana, he peeled it, he ate it, and then he went on to kick the corner kick, right? And that's what we all remember, right? He turned like this racist moment of people trying to insult him, degrade and humiliate him by calling him a monkey into a funny moment and saying, "Look, I don't care, bro. Like, fuck you. Who the fuck are you?" Right? And I think that's a better way to deal with this. So obviously, it sucks for Lamine. It sucks that it affected him, but I think a better way to deal with this is just ignore it. Do your thing, keep shining on the field, keep playing, and let these idiots be idiots. You can't cure stupid, so why give it any attention? Anyways, speaking of the FIFA international break, we do have to talk about the man of the hour because, ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, what Bastoni is currently enduring. Because if you don't know by now, Italy played against Bosnia-Herzegovina. They were up 1-0. And then Bastoni committed a reckless tackle, and he was the last man. And therefore, he received a direct red card. Bosnia-Herzegovina then were able to tie the match 1-1 and went to penalties. Bosnia-Herzegovina won on penalties. And Italy will miss yet another World Cup. I think this is the third World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, in a row that they're missing. What a mess. What a mess from what was, for the longest time, one of the best teams in the world, right? One of the best nations in the world. I mean, they have what, 4 World Cups? And to miss 3 World Cups in a row, I mean, that's pretty hefty. And of course, all the blame is being laid on Bastoni. Pretty much every single media outlet in Italy is crucifying Bastoni. He is on every headline of every major news outlet, magazine, radio station, TV station. I mean, everybody is blaming Bastoni for Italy not making it to the World Cup. It's, in fact, it's gotten so bad that the Italian national team decided to, or were forced to, turn off the comments on all of their social media outlets because people were just going crazy against Bastoni, blaming him for this, and pretty much, crucifying him. Now, some very few people who still think that Araujo's a great defender have somehow used this as an excuse to defend Araujo, even though I don't understand what one thing has to do with the other, saying that, oh, look, if this was Araujo, the media would be all over him. And I'm like, what do you mean? The media literally is all over Bastoni. Like, he is public enemy number one in Italy right now. Every media outlet is crucifying him. So what are you even talking about, right? And I've seen these comments a lot. Someone commented this on a channel, but I also see it all over social media. People are like, oh, this was Araujo, it would be media would be all over him. Bro, they're literally all over Bastoni. But of course, that's why you call a straw man argument. That's when you make up an argument so you can argue against it, because arguing against the real argument is too difficult, or maybe you just don't have the ability to articulate an argument against it, or the mental capacity to do so. So instead, you come up with an easier argument you can beat, right? Because what's the argument? The argument is Araujo should not be a Barca player because he's not Barca quality, right? That's the argument. So instead of arguing against that by saying, no, but Araujo is a good defender for Barcelona because these are his qualities, A, B, C, D. This is how he contributes to the team, A, B, C, D. That's too difficult, right? That's too difficult because you have to think, you have to reason, you have to articulate. So instead of arguing against Araujo shouldn't be a Barca player, I make up a fake argument. Oh, if this was Araujo, the media would be all over him. That's a lot easier to beat or to argue against. But, I mean, it's untrue. The media all over Bastoni. And again, everybody can see through it, right? Everybody can see that you're just employing a strawman argument. And it's just not a good look, right? It's not a good look. And I'm not against people defending Araujo. If people think Araujo's a good defender for Barca, so be it. That's their opinion. I don't think so. But do better. Do better, Present a coherent, proper, well-articulated argument. Don't just make crap up so you can argue against that crap, because it's easier to argue against that crap versus arguing against the real dilemma. But anyways, so people are, of course, using this as kind of like, oh, look, Araujo, trying to defend Araujo. But here's the thing. It's not about whether Bastoni made the error or not, because all defenders make mistakes. All players make mistakes. Even Messi has made some mistakes. There are several matches where I remember clearly where Messi would lose the ball in a critical area the opposing team would take the ball and then score, right? There were several goals that I can clearly remember in my head that were caused by Messi losing the ball in a very dangerous area. That happened actually to Lamine not too long ago. Kouarsi got a red card not too long ago. Does that mean that Messi sucks? Does that mean that Kouarsi sucks? Does that mean that Lamine Yamal sucks? No, it doesn't, right? It's not about whether a player makes a mistake or not. It's how many times you make that mistake. Bastoni's mistake, terrible. Is it really the reason why Italy didn't make it to the World Cup? No. Italy sucks and has been sucking for the last 12 years. But nonetheless, it's a horrible mistake. Does that mean all of a sudden Bastoni sucks? No. Does that mean all of a sudden Araujo's better than him? Absolutely not. The problem with Araujo is that he continues to make mistakes time and time again. It's not that he made that one mistake. No. When you make it again and again and again and again, that's when it becomes a problem. So I hope people who are using this to defend Araujo see the difference, because people love to compare not even apples to oranges, apples to batteries, right? They love to. It's like, bro, think about what you're actually comparing. Is it really the same thing? Is it really the same thing to compare one mistake to a series of mistakes? It's not. But anyways, I kind of see this, and this might be a little bit opportunistic, maybe. I see this as maybe a good chance for Barcelona to actually sign Bastoni because this mistake might actually affect or impact his value. Barcelona might be able to negotiate his value down. Also, this could drive Bastoni even further away from Inter Milan because he's going to be thinking, why do I want to stay in this league where every stadium I'm going to go to? Because I bet you anything, every stadium is going to go to. He's going to be booed. He's going to be whistled at, insulted, abused. I mean, remember when it happened to Beckham back in the 90s where he got that red card against El Cholo Simeone um, and he got expelled. And after that entire season, when he went back and played with Manchester United, he was getting abused in every single Premier League stadium. So expect the same thing to happen to Bastoni. So as terrible as this for Bastoni, because he will be abused and for quite some time, I see this as a good opportunity for Barcelona to sign him because this will definitely drive Bastoni away from the Serie A. It could impact his value. So I guess one man's misfortune is another man's golden opportunity, as horrible as that might sound. But anyways, you guys let me know. What do you think about Lamine Yamal's statements? What do you think about Bastoni's red card and what's going on? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. And with that, let's begin with the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Barcelona's newest signing. Exciting signing. But Earl says, hey, Mo, did you hear the news that Deco extended Torres for 4 more years? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. I could be maybe behind. But as far as I know, no. No. I haven't. I'm not aware of Barcelona renewing Ferran Torres. That was the plan. Initially, the plan was to extend the contract of Ferran, but given that Ferran has gone, 12 matches without scoring, and not only without scoring or assisting, it's like his performance has been so crap. I mean, the guy can't control a ball, he can't complete a pass, he can't receive a pass, and Barcelona have completely frozen the whole renewal process, and they haven't even reached out to him. But no, not that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm behind, but definitely not that I'm aware of. Let's see, normal time. Oh, I thought it was gonna be time, so I was gonna say normal time. But as I was completing the phrase or the name, I was like, oh wait, it's not time. It says I'm really worried for this weekend match. Still no Frankie and no Rafinha. Are we cooked, Mo? No, we're not cooked. I mean, we've been without Frankie for over a month now, and we've been fine. As far as Rafinha's absence worries me more than Frankie's absence because I feel like when Rafinha's on the field, his energy is contagious, and we always notice that when he's on a field, the team plays with more intensity. I don't know if it's just they see him, running, and then they feel guilty, and they're like, "Whoa, look at this guy! He's giving it his all. I should give him my all," or I don't know what it is, but whenever Rafinha's on the field, the team is definitely plays with more intensity. So that worries me a little bit more than Frankie's absent. But no, I think we have enough players and enough quality on the squad that with or without Rafinha and Frankie, we could still win. Doesn't mean that they're not important. Doesn't mean that they don't contribute. But, we still have enough quality to where we could go without them. Would it be better with them? Of course. But is it the end of the world without them? No. And Shane, what's up, Shane? Shane says everyone can be upset about their team's performance during the break, whether it be a loss or a draw. You've been eliminated from the World Cup. However, be thankful you're not Italy. Yeah, you're not kidding, man. Especially because obviously not making it to the World Cup sucks for any country in the world. But when you're Italy, four-time World Cup winner, that's huge. This is like Barca not qualifying to the Champions League. I'm not saying getting eliminated from the group stages and going to Europa League, which happened 2 seasons in a row. No, I'm talking about like not even qualifying to the Champions League for 3 seasons in a row. Man, that's huge, right? That sucks, man. It really does. Mm. If this was any other country, like I don't know, freaking Belgium, Denmark. I don't know. I'm just naming random countries. No offense to any if there's anyone from those countries. You're like, all right, whatever. They didn't make it to the World Cup. They didn't make it to the World Cup. It sucks, but man, there's next time. But when you're a four-time World Cup winner, it just hits different. So yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks, but I'm not Italian, so it doesn't suck that much for me. But hopefully there aren't any Italians here in the chat section, because if there are, I'm sorry, my friends. All I can say is, hey, I'm my name is Mario. That was terrible. That's terrible. I say with the donation. Let's look a goal. Thank you, my friend, for your generosity. Shen says, granted, I'm not a U.S. fan, but I really thought I'd see the U.S. win a World Cup before my clubs win a my Cubs win a World Series, and before I see Indiana win a you got me there, CFB Natty. I don't know what that is. Is that a national football title? After this break, I'm convinced I'll witness the second coming of Christ before they do it. You know what? Here's the crazy thing. I truly believe that as a country, we could one day win the World Cup if we invested in our infrastructure. Because right now, what prevents us from being a powerhouse in the football world, or soccer, as we say here in the US or even Australia, is the lack of infrastructure, right? Look at all these other nations who are powerhouses of football. Why are they powerhouses in football? Because they have these teams with the youth academies like Barcelona, La Masia, right? You could be 5 years old and already playing for Barca and working your way up through the system and eventually to the first team. And by the time you make it to the first team, you have like 10 years, 12 years, 15 years of experience. And you just broke into first division football. And this is why we see most of the Spanish national team are Barca players, right? Because they have such a great academy. But I mean, all these powerhouses in football, they all have these clubs, and then all these clubs have these academies that, scout these young 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids and then just build them up into football players. And by the time they're teenagers or young adults, they're freaking stars. We don't have that in the US, right? That in the US, the only way to become a professional is you play high school soccer, you hope to win a scholarship to college, and then by the time you make it to the MLS, you're 23 years old, you're 24 years old. I mean, bro, you're 24 debuting in first division football. In Europe at 24, you already have like 10 years of experience in first division football. So I think what prevents us from being a football powerhouse is the fact that we don't have that infrastructure. We don't have those academies that recruit these very young kids for free, because you can play for clubs here in the US when you're a kid, but you have to pay, and it's very expensive. So it limits the pool to only people who can afford it. But if we were to actually build the infrastructure like they have in European countries, like they have in Brazil and Argentina, I think we could be the best or one of the best nations in football. And you might say, oh, Mo, you're just talking out of your ass because you're American. Let's not forget, the U.S. is dominant in every single sport: basketball, track and field, swimming, gymnastics, almost every single sport, hockey in the world, the U.S. is number one. Why? Because those sports actually have the infrastructure that we're missing in football/soccer. So if we employ that infrastructure in football/soccer, there's no reason why we couldn't also dominate that sport as well. I mean, we're a country of 300 million people with incredible diversity. Every single race, ethnicity you can think of is here in the US of A. And that's why we dominate every single sport. But we don't in football/soccer because we don't have the infrastructure. And if we did, I guarantee you that we would be a powerhouse in the world of football. Maybe I'm delusional, but again, just look at all the other sports. Look at every Olympics. We clean house. We clean house. So many gold medals that we look like freaking Liberace's museum. Anyways, let's get back to the news. Let's get back to the news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of youngsters, promising players, infrastructure to grow, scout, grow, and develop those youngsters. I am pleased to announce that, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have signed a young and up-and-coming, promising young starlet from Kazakhstan named Karim Mendiakanov. I hope I said that right. But yes, we do have a new signing, Karim Mendiakanov. I'm just going to call him Karim. Is that okay? Because I can't say that last name. But yes, Barcelona have completed the signing of a Kazakh Wonderkid, Karim, who is 15 years old, only 15 years old. In his dream to pursue professional football, Karim moved to Spain back in 2022, where he has been living in Catalonia ever since. When he first arrived, he was playing for Cerdanyola. And at the beginning of this season, or right before this season, he moved to Sant Cugat, which is where Barcelona have signed them for. Now, the agreement has been reached. The contract has been signed. But of course, we're not currently in a transfer market. So Karim will stay at Sant Cugat until the end of the season. And once the summer comes, he will join the Barcelona Academy. Now, if you're wondering what position Karim plays in or why Barcelona signed him, well, he is a right winger who is known for his speed, his dribbling, and his 1v1 ability under pressure, and of course, his creative output. So in other words, kind of like a Lamine Yamal profile, right? A right winger who's fast, who can dribble past defenders, who can assist, who can score. That is Karim Mendiakanov, the 15-year-old Kazakh attacker that Barcelona just signed. Now, Karim is considered an extremely promising player. There were many clubs after him. He had many offers on the table, but the offer that won out was the one from Barcelona because, of course, when Barcelona knocks on your door, it's very difficult to say no. Plus, not to mention, Barcelona does have the best academy in the world. So what a better place for a young player with lots of potential to develop than La Masia. So Karim will join Barcelona in the summer, where he will join the academy and, of course, continue his development, his growth. And who knows, maybe one day we will see this young Kazakh player on the first team. And I got to say, this news excites me a lot. I don't know why, but I get more excited when we sign these young, very promising players than when we actually sign players for the first team. Because let's not forget, some of our greatest players were signed that way. Messi, 12 years old, signed him from Rosario, right? From Boys. Why am I blanking on the name of the club? Whatever, the pink team. But we signed Messi at 12 years old, right? And boom, he became our greatest player ever. We signed Lamine Yamal when he was, how old was Lamine? I think 6 or 7. Boom. He has the potential to become one of our greatest players. So I'm always very excited when we, Newell's boys, there we go. I'm always very excited when we sign these very young, promising players because you never know. This could be your next Messi or your next Lamine. And then again, I'm always in favor of signing these young players because they don't cost you anything. So if they do end up being your next Messi, holy shit, you just hit jackpot. You just hit, freaking 777 on a slot machine. You just sign your future Messi for nothing. And if they don't work out, who cares? You didn't spend anything, right? This is much better than spending 120. Well, it ended up being 140 with variables, million euros for freaking Dembele, only for him to flop, or Coutinho, only for him to flop, or Griezmann, only for him to flop. If Karim ends up flopping, nobody's gonna bat an eye because he cost us almost nothing. So I much rather we sign these young, promising players than spend these huge amounts on these, so-called stars, where if they end up flopping, well, now you're out a lot of money. But Karim Mendia, kind of Barcelona's latest signing. I wish him the best, and may he become our next big star in the future. All right, let's go back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Marcus Rashford. Some crazy reports coming out today saying that Barcelona have missed this signing. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. Let's see. Gomez. Yannika Chilico says, "Hey Mo, watching you while on late night road trip, but I saw some comments regarding Bastoni's red card for Italy, relating him to becoming Araujo 2.0 in UEFA if he joins Barca. What's your take?" That's a pretty stupid take, honestly. So if you commit a red card, all of a sudden you gotta become Araujo. If you commit several red cards, then yeah. But one out of red cards is not gonna make you Araujo. Like I said, it's not about a player making a mistake. It's continuously making a mistake. That's when it becomes a problem, because all players make mistakes. The greatest and the worst, they all make mistakes. But what separates the greatest from the not so great is the amount of mistakes. If you're consistently making mistakes, then obviously you're not going to be a great player. Even the greatest, Messi, he made mistakes too. But guess what? Those mistakes, he made them very rarely. And that's what separates him from, let's say, someone who, I don't know, plays for Getafe, who's constantly making mistakes, right? That's the difference, my friends. It's the same thing when I talk about consistency, right? Which people always seem to ignore when talking about players. They're like, "Oh, look, he had a great match. See, you're wrong." It's like, it's not about having a great match. Everybody has a great match. Everybody, statistically speaking, even the worst player in the Spanish league could still have a great match. So it's not about having a great match. It's how many great matches you have. That's what separates elite players from average players, from bottom of the barrel players, is how often you have those great matches. Do you have them 9 out of 10 matches? That makes you pretty elite. Or do you have one great match every 1 out of 10 great matches? That makes you not so much elite, right? That's the difference, my friends. It's not about how many great matches you have, or whether you have a great match, is how many you have of them. Same thing with mistakes. It's not about whether you make a mistake. It's how often are you making those mistakes? That's what separates great players from average players, from bottom of the barrel players. And for some reason, as simple as that point sounds, a lot of people, that point just goes right over their head. They see one great match and, that guy is Messi. It's like, no, he's not. He just had one great match. Or they see a player make a mistake. Worst player ever. It's like, no. It depends on. We live in a world of sound bites and memes. And that's the problem. People don't want to think. People don't want to critically think. People don't want to analyze. People don't want to look at the big picture. People just want sound bites and memes. One sentence to summarize everything. And that's just not how the world works. As much as you try to make it that way, is not how the world works. Thanks a lot, social media, for ruining the future of humans. Anyways, let's see. William Castro says, "It's great to have holidays to be able to watch your live video." No, my friend, it's great to have you here in the chat section with everyone else, with my entire Barca News family. Thank you guys for joining the live, for chiming in with your comments. keep it on because this is the best part of the podcast is reading you guys' comments and reacting to them. And David Blandon, what up, David? Who says, Mo, instead of one player highlight video, could you do a comparison video of the video of the players we are interested in, like Sheldrup versus Virgili versus Jeremiah Hernandez, for example? That is an absolutely brilliant idea, my friend. It's a great idea. I'm going to have to make those videos on the weekend. It's going to take some work. But I like that. In fact, I'm going to write it down right now so I don't forget. I got my pen. Let's see. Comparison videos. And of course, it could be for the left wing. We can compare, Virgili to Rashford to Sheldrup. I would do Jeremiah Hernandez, but he's not really like high on the list of Barca. We could do a center forward video. For example, keeping Lewy. No, but Lewy's going to be secondary, so we can't really compare him. We could do like a Fisnik, Aslani versus Julian versus Osimhen. And we can do a CB video where we can compare Bastoni to Van de Ven to Senesi. I like it. 3 videos right there. Brilliant idea, David. Thank you so much, my friend. Let's see. Dev J Flow says Bastoni is public enemy number 1 in Italy, but they failed to realize they were poor before Bastoni. Oh, yeah, he's just a scapegoat. I mean, bro, with or without Bastoni, with or without red card, Italy was not going to make it to the World Cup. That's why it's the 3rd World Cup that they miss, because they fucking suck. Nathan says, hi, Mo, Sheldrup is making a better decision on moving to Barcelona than Nico Williams. I got to say, man, Sheldrup excites me. In fact, I'm going to do a reaction video right after this podcast. P4K Chema says, what's up, Bo? Are there any offers or interest in Araujo? I saw a post saying 11 players could departure, but haven't really heard anything. There is Liverpool interested in Araujo. He also has some interest in the Serie A. But of course, I don't think he's gonna want to leave. They just renewed his contract. Deco really wants him to stay. I don't see him leaving, unfortunately. And Zach Urban says, really hope we sign Bastoni. Such a step up from Araujo. And then Costa says that Torres News was a Facebook post for April Fools. This guy bought it. I thought so because I was like, no, I haven't heard anything. It is April 1st. That's true. You're right. April Fools in the U.S. is canceled because, well, with everything going on, we really are living through April Fools. Like, the jokes just write themselves. But anyways, P4K Chema says, prefer we cash out on Bastoni, sell Ferran, and bring Aslani with Lewa as mentor/sub for the following season, would be in a better position to get a striker with more options too. That does sound like a good idea on paper. You know, Fisnik is young with Lewy teaching him and being the sub. But I don't know if Fisnik could be the starter center forward. I think it's always better to bring a center forward who's established, who's in his prime, who can take on the responsibility of being a starter while still learning from Lewy. Because even if you are in your prime, even if you are 25, 26, 27 with plenty of experience, you can still learn from Lewy because, my God, it's freaking Lewy, one of the greatest center forwards in our generation. But I don't know if a 23-year-old kid who's only played at Hamburg can be the starting center forward for Barca. Not to say that Aslani doesn't, it's not good or anything like that. I think he has incredible potential. But I don't know if he could take on the responsibility of being the starting 9. I don't know. But I mean, if that happens, I really hope I'm a million times wrong. But anyways, let's get back to the news. Because speaking of attackers, we do have to talk about Marcus Rashford, because today Ketty Jugas dropped a bombshell news that spread around the world like wildfire all over social media. Other media outlets picked it up. And well, the report is that, as you know, Rashford is on loan until the end of the season. He has an option to buy in his contract worth 30 million euros. And the bombshell report by Ketty Jugas was that that option expired in March. Well, today's April 1st. Therefore, since Barcelona did not activate that option to buy, it expired, and therefore Barcelona could no longer sign Marcus Rashford for 30 million euros. And instead, if they wanted to sign Rashford, well, they would have to go sit down on a negotiating table with Manchester United, where they would have to agree on a transfer fee. And given that Manchester United consider that Rashford's value has gone up, they would probably try to get more than 30 million euros. And since Barcelona are not even okay with paying the 30 million, they would definitely not be okay with paying anything higher. And therefore, the signing of Rashford was completely ruled out. That was the report by Getty Jugas. Again, this report spread like wildfire around the world. All over social media, got picked up by many media outlets. But later the day, during the day, Barcelona, well, or sources close to Barcelona, people at Barcelona denied this. Said there's no truth to this. The option to buy does not expire in March. It's, there is no expiration until the contract expires, right? The loan is until June 30th. Therefore, the option to buy is until June 30th, and that Barcelona had until June 30th to activate that option to buy, pay the 30 million, and sign Rashford on a permanent basis. Honestly, that makes a lot more sense to me. Usually when you sign a contract, especially for a loan, it's a 1-year contract and everything in it is a 1-year contract. Any clauses, any options, anything in it usually is for that 1 year. I don't see why Barcelona would agree in negotiating a contract where we agreed to the contract being 1 year, but the option to buy is going to be less. I don't see that happening, but either way, it doesn't matter what I think or not. The club have denied this. So Barcelona still have that option to buy worth 30 million euros that they could activate at any point until, of course, the expiration of the whole contract, which is on June 30th. Now, Barcelona. Now, what's the update as far as Barcelona wanting to sign Rashford? As we know, Barcelona were in favor of the idea of signing Rashford. In fact, they sat down with his agent and negotiated personal terms and came to an agreement in regards to the personal terms. So right now, Barcelona and Rashford have an agreement in place. How long the contract would be, how much his salary would be, any bonuses that he would get, everything. Personal terms are agreed to between Barca and Rashford. But of course, Rashford belongs to Manchester United, so you also need to reach an agreement with Man U. Barcelona were trying to get or negotiate a lower fee than the 30 million euro option to buy. But Manchester United have, of course, been hesitant to do that. Instead, they've insisted it's 30 mil or nothing. You either give me 30 mil, you can keep him, or not, he's coming back. Now, what's the update? The update is that for now, Barcelona have hit pause on the signing of Rashford. They're no longer fully convinced on whether they should pay those 30 mil for Rashford. Because A, Rashford hasn't scored or assisted since January 31st against Elche. That's more than a month. And yes, that is a problem. And B, because not only is he not scoring and assisting, his performance has gone down in general terms. So what's the plan now that Barcelona have hit the brakes on the signing? The plan is that Barcelona now understand that for the next 5 weeks, Rafinha will be out and that Rashford will have to step up. And Barcelona are going to be watching Rashford up close. And this will be his final chance to impress. So the next 5 weeks for Rashford will be make it or break it. He either impresses Barcelona and Barcelona say, okay, he is worth 30 mil, or he fails to impress his Barcelona and Barcelona say, See ya. Au revoir. I personally hope he impresses, not because I want Barcelona to sign him. I don't think Rashford's worth 30 mil. He's incredibly inconsistent. He's not worth 30 mil. I don't think Barcelona should sign him, period. Not only because he's inconsistent, but because, again, as I mentioned before, he is the same age as Rafinha. I would rather we sign someone younger that can learn from Rafinha. So when Rafinha gets older, that younger person can take over. But I hope he impresses because we need him to impress. This is the final stretch of the season. We have very important matches coming up, and I want Rashford to step it up, to impress us all, to prove me wrong. Because if he does, that means, well, that the whole team benefits from it. At the end of the day, the only thing I want is for Barcelona to succeed. So I truly, truly hope that Rashford ends up impressing, even though I would rather we don't sign him. Anyways, you guys let me know what do you think about Rashford signing in the chat section or in the comment section if you are watching this once it ends. Now, let's get back to the comment section and we're going to talk about Joao Cancelo. Let's see. Barca got culture, says USA have great infrastructure. The problem is USA soccer is too expensive for the regular homes we talking about. Yeah, but that's the problem, right? It's not great infrastructure. Great infrastructure it's not great if only a few select can access it. Because what happens is you limit the pool, right? The odds of someone coming out, of you discovering a great player is much higher when the pool that you're selecting from is bigger. Let's say, and I'm just making this up, let's say 1 out of 10 people is a great football player. Obviously not. It's much, probably 1 out of a million or higher. Let's say 1 out of 10. If your population is 10 people, well, that means your chances are they're only going to have one great football player. If your population is 100 people, now you're talking about the chances are you can get 10 great football players, right? If your population is 1,000, now we're talking about 100 possibly great football players, right? The bigger your pool is, the more great players you can get, right? If your infrastructure is only aimed at the wealthy, you're limiting your pool. And when you limit your pool, you limit the number of great players you can uncover. So that's not a great infrastructure. The fact that it's limited, it makes it not great. A great infrastructure is an infrastructure that's accessible to everybody. So you can have a bigger pool and therefore increase your chances of finding quality players. Shit, says J. Pedro nailed it with the interview before the U.S. played Portugal last night. He said there is no pressure in the U.S. for the football team. Truer words were never said. That's true. There's zero expectations, right? No one expects us to do anything. But you know what? Sometimes that can actually play in your favor. Because sometimes expectations and pressure could also affect you, right? But I think it's a much bigger problem. It's an infrastructure problem, honestly. Defiant AML says, I get the feeling we are waiting to see how Rashford does while Rafa's out. If he delivers, I'm sure we will make a bid for him. That's not a feeling. That's literally what Barcelona's plan is. They want to see how he does this next 5 weeks. And see, that to me is problematic. We shouldn't have to wait until the end of the season, until a starting winger is out, to see whether someone is good enough. Because what if, and I'm not saying this is the case with Rashford, what if you get a player who bombs that entire season? Shit in September, it's shit in October, it's shit in November, it's shit in December, it's shit in January, it's shit in February, it's shit in April. And then he plays 5 weeks of great football while Rafinha's out. April and part of May. You telling me we should sign that player? I'm sorry, but no. And this is what irks me about a lot of times of what I see, what people defend these days. And I'm not just talking about Rashford, I'm talking in general. People who defend Rashford, people who defend Olmo, people who defend Araujo, people who defended Ferran, now no longer. This is what irks me. I feel like our fan base got used to mediocrity because we were mediocre for so long, right? We had Valverde, Ernesto Valverde, the coach. We had Setien. We had Koeman. We had Xavi. And for nearly 10 years, we were mediocre. And I feel like our fan base got used to that mediocrity to where now they're impressed by anything. Remember Rafinha's first 2 seasons under Xavi? I used to come here and talk about how he was mediocre, and people used to crucify me. Mo, he scored 10 goals. Oh, 10 goals. Oh my God. Wow. You fucking kidding me? You're impressed by 10 goals at Barca? Rashford, Mo, he scored 10 goals. Are you fucking kidding me? You're impressed by 10 goals at Barca? Do you forget the players we've had? Do you forget the numbers that those players used to put up? Did we really get used to mediocrity because we saw it for so long that now we're just impressed by anything? Oh, it's kind of like when I was a kid. I remember did a trip with my family to the Amazon, and we went to visit a local tribe. And this was a tribe that still lived, under their traditions. Like they lived in huts made of like tree branches and no technology, no electricity, nothing. And I remember when you would take a picture with them and the flash would go on, they would go like, oh, like they were so surprised, like it's a flash, right? And I feel like that's the state of Barcelona fans right now. They're impressed by a flash. Oh, shit, 10 goals, oh my God, greatest thing ever. And it's sad. It's sad, it really is, because you're not a fan of Valencia. You're not a fan of Athletic Club. You're a fan of FC fucking Barcelona. A club that saw the likes of Messi, of Xavi, of Iniesta, of Cruyff, Ronaldinho, of Rivaldo, of Koeman when he was a player, Stoikov. That's the club we're talking about. Don't come here with the bullshit. Rashford scored 10 goals. That's not fucking impressive. If that impresses you, if 10 goals a season impresses you, go follow Valencia. Go follow Athletic Club de Bilbao. Go follow Real Sociedad, because that's where you belong. With other people who are impressed by mediocre fucking performances, by mediocre fucking numbers, by mediocre fucking players. That's where you need to be. You don't deserve to be a Barca fan, because here we demand greatness, we expect greatness, and we want to see greatness. We don't want to see Ferran as our starting 9. We don't want to see Dani Olmo as our starting number 10. Number 10, a number worn by people like Messi and Ronaldinho. And you're like, oh, Dani Olmo. You're fucking kidding me. That's what fucking irks me. Is that these fans have gotten used to mediocrity for so long that now they applaud it. They demand it. They ask for it. And I'm sorry, but this is FC fucking Barcelona. We don't accept mediocrity here. But if you are a mediocre person who enjoys mediocrity, go somewhere else. This is not a club for you. This is a club where we demand greatness. We expect greatness. We want to see greatness. And we have seen greatness because we demanded greatness. Go watch someone else. You're embarrassing yourself. Anyways, let's do 2 more donations and then we'll do the final bit of news. But sure, with the fucking donation, let's fucking go. He says, in other news, Mo Salah not returning to Liverpool. Sign him now, my pick for number 9. Just my opinion. Mo Salah, man. I would have loved to have Mo Salah as a Barca player. Just not now. Just not now. I think that ship has sailed. I think the best years of Mo are behind him. I would have loved to have Mo 5 years ago. I think at Barca, he would have been an absolute beast. He would have put up crazy numbers. He would have broken some records, maybe not all. Messi has some insane records that will probably never be broken. But maybe 5 years ago. Now, the best years are behind him. Now, if Mo comes for free with a low salary, of course, I'm not going to say no. But I have a feeling that Mo's going to want a big contract, heavy numbers, because it's going to be his final chance at making a splash before he rides into the sunset. And in that case, no. But if Mo comes for free and, on a low salary, absolutely. Absolutely. And Sajuk says, do you think Deco will be able to negotiate for Bastoni after Bastoni's blunder in the qualifiers? I hope so. I really do. I would definitely use that to my advantage. Be like, yo, this guy sucks, man. He got a red. You guys didn't make it to the World Cup because of him. He's clearly shit. Let me take him off your hands. I'm gonna take him off your hands. He's a liability, bro. Just give him to me. Give him to me. But anyways, that's what I would do. Now, whether Deco has that skill or ability to actually negotiate, so far he hasn't showed it to me. But maybe I'm just missing something. I don't know. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news. Let's do the last bit of news because we have to do the last bit of news. Let's talk about João Cancelo because, ladies and gentlemen, the Portuguese fullback just gave an interview to, I think it was a Portuguese media outlet. I could be wrong, but anyways, who doesn't care who he gave it to? The point is, or the important thing is that he said the following about the possibility of playing for his boyhood club, Benfica. And Cancelo said, I've already achieved more than I ever expected, but playing for Benfica is like playing basketball. It's all about the love of the game. I'm prepared to take a pay cut. Interesting words by João Cancelo, who, expressing that he would be willing to do whatever he could to go back to Benfica, which of course, puts a question mark on whether he's going to want to come, or sorry, if he's going to stay at Barcelona. Now, of course, João Cancelo is on loan until the end of the season. No option to buy or obligation to buy. Barcelona wouldn't mind keeping him. But of course, Al Hilal have made it very clear to Barca, if you want Cancelo, you have to pay 15 million euros, something that Barcelona are not willing to do. In fact, Barcelona are not willing to pay anything for Cancelo. They're okay keeping him, but only if Cancelo comes to Barca on a free transfer. But of course, now with Cancelo saying he wants to go to Benfica, the question is, does he even want to stay at Barca? Now, Cancelo has always, expressed big love and admiration for Barca. So I guess we'll have to see. I don't know if he means that he wants to go back to Benfica after playing at least a season or two at Barca, or whether he wants to go back to Benfica now in the summer. But definitely that raises more questions about whether Cancelo should continue or not. Now, one player that looks like will be continuing, who's also on loan, is Patricio Pacifico, the 18-year-old left back who can also play as a center back. Barcelona have signed on loan during this winter transfer market from Uruguay. He does have certain, he has a clauses in his contract where if he plays a certain amount of matches, that option to buy becomes an obligation to buy. And even though Patricio Pacifico has not met that, his signing has not become obligatory because he's not met those requirements. Barcelona have decided that they want to sign him on a permanent basis because so far he has impressed. And that, of course, is great news because who knows, maybe one day we'll see Patricio Pacifico on the first team. All right, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's do a few more comments and then we will end this video, or this podcast, I should say. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Let me see. There we go. Dev J Flow says, hey Mo, are you aware if there are any offers for Ferran? Not official offers, but there is interest. There is interest from Atletico Madrid. Their sporting director is now Alemany. It's Alemany who signed Ferran. Back when Alemany was the sporting director of Barca, he's the one who signed him from Manchester City, and he's a big fan. So Atletico Madrid could be interested in signing him. Also, Manchester United are tracking his situation, and so is Arsenal. Oh, and Inter Milan would be interested in kind of a swap deal with Bastoni plus some cash. So there's interested in him. There's clubs tracking him, but an actual official offer, no. Christian says, "What's good, Mo? Been listening to you for a couple of months now. Love the content. Assuming we had funds available, would you make a bid for Tonali?" That's a good question. That's a good question. Right, let me see how much he would cost first. Let me pull it up. Sandro Tonali. Let's see. He has a contract until 2028. So his market value is 80 million. 2028, 80 million. 2 years left on the contract this summer. Assume Newcastle would want at least 90 mil. Now, of course, we're assuming we have funds to pay 90 mils. The answer is no. I don't think Tonali is worth 90 mil. Not only that, let's not forget we have a defensive midfielder who's Marc Bernal. I'm not trying to say he's at the level of Tonali because obviously Tonali is in his prime right now. Marc Bernal is barely starting, but Bernal has a much, much higher ceiling than Tonali. I think Bernal eventually will become way better than Sandro Tonali. And bring in someone like Sandro Tonali, someone who is 25, who's a starter, is not going to be to sit on the bench, right? It's going to be to start. And if you bring someone like Tonali to an already packed midfield, that's only going to mean curtailing Bernal's minutes, which would mean curtailing Bernal's growth and development. So no, having the funds, no. I still would not bring him. Barca Got Culture says, Mo, I watched Tunkara live a few days ago versus Scotland. And I'm telling you, that kid's going to be one hell of a number 10. Yeah, man. Tunkara's looking devilish. He's going to be doing some damage. MFA Scully says, what if we get Dusan on a free and sign Aslani and keep Lewa for next season as a mentor for these strikers? Because the Julian signing, I don't see it happening. Atletico would ask for a lot. So Dusan has been completely ruled out. So that's not going to happen. But would I have mind that? No. I think on a free with a lower salary or a decent salary, I think Dusan could be a starting 9. Would he be a top starting 9? No, but someone with experience, someone who in his prime, I think he could have handled the job while Fisnik developed and grew. But then how do you justify 3 salaries for 3 different center forwards? I don't think you could. Big Booty Judy says, hi, Mo. Big Booty Judy in the building. It's sad that Lamine had to go through the Spanish fans mocking Islam, racism, or disrespect towards religion has no place in football. I agree. But like I said, I think a better reaction would have been to just ignore. For example, remember when people used to streak, jump onto the pitch and then run around naked or just run around, period? TV stations or football in general decided that the best way to combat that is whenever someone does that, they're not going to show them. And they did that, right? Whenever someone would jump on the field, the cameras would pan to the crowd or would pan to a player, and you wouldn't even know that was going on. Unless you were actually in the stadium, you had no idea that there was someone running across the pitch because the cameras would simply not show it. And guess what? People stopped doing it. Because they're like, what's the point? The whole point of jumping onto the field and running across the pitch was to get attention. And if no one is giving you attention, then what's the point of doing it? And I think that's kind of how I think a better way to combat this is, again, I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying, yeah, it should happen. I think ignoring it. You take the power away from it. Again, it's like that Dani Alves incident where they threw a banana at him. He didn't get mad. He didn't issue a statement. Grabbed the banana, he peeled it, he ate it, threw it away, and then played. Right? I think that's the best way to, because you can't fix stupid. So it's better to just ignore it. Adrian says, Mo, Araujo, Ferran, Lewy, Ter Stegen, Peña, Fati must be among the players that are leaving the club ASAP. I agree, my friend. I don't know about Iñaki Peña. I think Iñaki Peña could be a good second goalkeeper. So I don't know about Iñaki Peña. Well, Araujo, Ferran, Leo Ter Stegen, yeah. Let's see. Not to put though Lewy in the same bunch as Ferran, because obviously Lewy's still one of the greatest. But unfortunately, age catches up to all of us. Idris says, "Hi Mo, charted from Bahrain. I would suggest Yeremai Hernandez for a left wing, a player in the second division, excellent in 1v1 situation, a Pedri type of transfer." So yeah, but Yeremai is someone that Barcelona have been tracking for quite some time, but I don't know if he's high on the list, honestly. I think right now the list is the top options right now, and of course can always change. Things change quickly in football, but right now the top kind of like on the list are Rashford, Sheldrup, and the possibility of bringing Virgili back, even though Virgili is more like down on the list. But yeah. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, your donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And well, if you want to let me know what you think about any of the news I share with you, make sure to drop a comment down below. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, Viscarsa.